students, and welcome back to another video from English Solutions for Business and Life. Today we're going to be talking about the vocabulary for Unit 10, and corresponds to our Market Leader book, and for you, our dear pre-intermediate student. We're getting very close to finishing this book. I hope that you are proud, and I hope that all this information you have been watching or seeing or getting, I hope that it was useful for you, or I hope that it has been useful for you. Let's begin. Today's lesson is about vocabulary. I just mentioned vocabulary about verb plus preposition. Preposition combinations. We already mentioned this, or we already talked about this. These are all the so-called phrasal verbs. And they're basically this a verb with a preposition in them. We have an example. A good leader must always believe in his employees' abilities. Yes, so now we have here believe in. He always has to, well, what can I say? To think that their employees are good. He has to believe in them. Alright, let's move on. I'm going to give you the pronunciation of each verb, and I'm going to give you 2 examples of each. If required, I'm going to explain the examples themselves. Okay, now we have respond to. Respond to. Okay, respond to is like the way you react, or just a reaction to an action. Yes? Or also it can also be just like in Spanish, to respond to a question or have a certain reaction under a certain circumstance. Example, Carlos has responded to everyone's concerns really quickly. Okay, maybe it's not like he verbally responded, but we may be talking about what actions he took to the situation in question. Second one, we have to respond to this situation ASAP. Okay, we need to take action right now. Don't forget that the expression ASAP means as soon as possible. Yes. You can also see it with capital letters. You will see it in different forms, but just know that ASAP means right now, pronto. Let's move to the next one. Listen to. You know this one. Just make sure that you don't pronounce the T and that we always use the to in there. Now, for example, Mr. Morales never listens to our ideas during the meetings. He never listens to, he doesn't pay attention to them, or he simply doesn't care. So, listens to or listen to refers to not only the ability to hear and pay attention at the same time. It can also be have other meanings. Well, another example, you have to listen to me on this. If you don't, you may get into trouble. If you don't, I think there should be a comma there. If you don't, you may get into trouble. Okay, so listen to me on this. It's an expression like you should listen to my advice. You should follow my instructions. Why? Because you will probably have a bad result. Let's move on to the next one. We have deal with. Deal with. Deal with means to work with, or you also has to do with tolerance. To have certain tolerance, or to handle, when you have a certain relationship with a forced relationship with someone or something. For example, dealing with difficult customers is part of my everyday activities. Yes, so dealing with, like, I have to have certain contact with the difficult customer, and that's just normal to me. Another example, I honestly don't want to deal with our visitors. The last time they only came to party. Okay, so this person doesn't want to work with or have any contact with the visitors. Why? Because perhaps they don't take things seriously. They just come to the new place, they just go out and drink and have fun instead of concentrating on work. This is a common situation, and a situation that we should always avoid when working in a company. Let's move on to the next one. Invest in. Invest in. Don't forget that invest, just like in Spanish, is to put some money or a lot of money into a project. If they invested in providing free coffee, I'm pretty sure we'd be very happy. Okay, so this is the situation. If they give free coffee, if they invested in, if they used put some money into the coffee area or the office, I'm pretty sure that we would have very good results. Now, investing in training always brings good things to everyone in the company. So if we put some money in training, we make our employees, our workers, better workers. We give them abilities and aptitudes. They will always be better for the company. They will always bring better results. I honestly don't see a scenario where this would not happen. Only except if they wouldn't go to training, or if they didn't take training properly. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Communicate with. Communicate with is pretty self-explanatory, and we have two examples. She always communicates with her coworkers very efficiently. She has good communication with them. She is in touch with them, or she has the means to be in contact with them. Now we have another example. Using text apps on our phones has made us communicate much better with each other. So we use communicate with. If we use different types of applications such as WhatsApp, Messenger, etc., we can communicate much better with each other. This time, as you can see, the verb is separated, and this is possible depending on the verb. You will get this with more practice. Oh, that's a horrible arrow. Let's make a better one. Yeah, communicate with. They're connected to each other. All right, now we have verbs that have two options. We have report to and report on. Different verbs, even though they look almost the same. Report to refers when you do that with a person, and report on when you talk about a situation or a thing. For example, you are to report to Mr. Chambers right now. Something big is happening. So something big, I'm talking about something very important. Something important is happening, so you have to report to him. The main idea here is Mr. Chambers. You have to report to him. But if I say, I'm going to have to report on this situation, you can't be doing this. Let's imagine that some coworkers are doing something they should not be doing in the office, so you are going to report on this. This time around, the situation is the one that is more important than who will listen to the information. So we use report on. Let's move on to the next one. Apologize for versus apologize to. Apologize for concentrates on the action that we performed that we are sorry for. For example, we had to apologize for breaking the coffee machine while fooling around at the office. So what is the main thing here is that we broke, let me use it a different way, we broke the coffee machine. So we apologized for it, yes? However, if we apologize to, we are saying that we're sorry to a specific person. So if we say we apologized to Mr. Johnson for not sending the order on time. So we have our word apologize to, and we have Mr. Johnson because he is the important part of this sentence. We said, Mr. Johnson, we are sorry. Let's move on to the next one. Talk to versus talk about. Alright, so it's pretty much the same. Talk to refers to when we use a person, we are concentrating on what person we had a conversation with. And talk about is we're concentrating on the topic of the conversation, not the person we had the conversation with. Number one, talk to. She's usually the person it's difficult to talk to. She's usually moody. Okay, so here it is, talk to, and we're talking about she. She being the most important part of the sentence. So it's difficult to talk to this person, to this girl, because she's not always in the mood. She's moody. Now we have talk about. We spent all morning talking about new ideas and solutions. Talk about, and this and we have the most important thing here is the what, not the who. So new ideas and solutions. That's why we use talk about. Now we have another one, agree with versus agree on. Now agree with is when we talk about a person, and agree on is when we concentrate on the topic or the decision that was made. Agree with, number one, they all agree with you. I think your idea will be the chosen one. Pretty self-explanatory. Agree with you, a person. So being you, or in this case me, the most important part of the sentence, we use agree with. However, if we're concentrating on the what of that conversation, for example, we both agree on the fact that we need to reduce costs at the main office, then we use on, agree on. And here we have our topic or what we agree on. It's a long one this time around. The fact is reducing costs. We agree on that. Yes. Let's move on to the next one. Argue about versus argue with. Argue about is when we concentrate on the topic, and argue with is when we concentrate on the person. So, for example, Robert and I argued about who we are going to hire. Okay, so we have argued about and we have who we are going to hire. Even though we're talking about a person, we're not, this is a situation, so we use argue about. What was the topic of the argument or the conversation? What person we are going to hire. That is a topic, not a person itself. However, if I say Robert and I argued with each other for about an hour. This is the amount of time it took. So each other, I'm talking about by saying each other, I'm talking about Robert and I. So we are people, so we use with. We argued with each other. He argued with me. I argued with him. All right, let's move on. One thing to remember before we say goodbye here is, well, knowing the correct preposition is very important. I already mentioned this to you in a previous video, if I'm not mistaken. You may be saying something totally different if you don't. Okay, so please memorize your prepositions. Make sure they are correct, because if you do this, this will bring you very good results. You will not make mistakes. You will not give the incorrect message either. And once again, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next video. Don't forget that we're all very close to finishing. We're unit 10, 2 more units and we'll be done with this. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.